There is a specific kind of fantasy that we're all, I think, guilty of buying into at some point in our lives.
Oh, for sure.
It's the Cinderella fantasy. The idea that if you just put on the right dress, go to the right party, and manage to catch the eye of the right person, usually a prince or, at least someone with a very nice estate, your entire life changes overnight.
Right. It's clean. It's magical. It's this ultimate makeover story.
And it is usually completely detached from reality because real life, as we all know, it rarely wraps up so neatly when the clock strikes midnight.
Not at all. The real story usually just begins then.
Exactly. But what happens when you take that classic fairy tale structure, the wicked stepmother, the ball, the glass slipper, the whole 9 yards, and you drop it into the actual messy, rigid social landscape of 1815 London?
Well, then you get something much more interesting.
That is exactly what we are digging into today.
It is. We are looking at a case study that it feels like a fairy tale on the surface, but when you peel back the layers, it is just a brutal examination of class, of identity, and really of economic coercion.
We're opening up the files on the Lady in Silver and the Housemaid. And to do this, we've got a whole collection of sources. We've got personal family histories from the Penwood family. We have private journals. And of course, we have the commentary of the era's most prolific social observer, Lady Whistledown.
Who, as always, provides the Greek chorus to the whole tragedy, really. She lets us know exactly what the public perception was versus the messy private reality.
So if you're listening to this, you probably knew the players. We have the Bridgertons, specifically Benedict, the artistic second son, and we have Sophie Beckett. But our mission today isn't just to retell the romance.
No, not at all.
We want to understand why it happened the way it did. Why did it take 2 years? Why couldn't he recognize her? And what does this story tell us about the invisible walls that existed in Regency society?
That is the big question, isn't it? The blindness. How can you look at someone you claim to love and just not see them?
We will get there. But we have to start with the context. It's 1815. The war is ending. Wellington has defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. But in the London ballrooms, it's business as usual. And the business is marriage.
Right. And looking at the Bridgertons, the pressure is usually on the eldest, Anthony. But Whistledown notes something really interesting about Benedict during this particular season.
Yeah.
He's technically a catch. He's wealthy, he's a Bridgerton, he's handsome. But he is profoundly checked out.
Bored is the word that just keeps coming up in the sources. But it's not just a lazy boredom, is it? It's something deeper.
No, it's existential. It's a specific kind of dissatisfaction with the superficiality of his world. He's attending parties, standing by the door, just watching people perform these social rituals, the bowing, the scraping, the insincere compliments, and he doesn't buy any of it.
He sees the strings.
He does. He's an artist at heart, even if he hasn't fully realized it yet. He's looking for authenticity in a world built entirely on artifice.
So while everyone else is worried about dowries and bloodlines, Benedict is looking for a spark. He's looking for something real.
Exactly.
But to find that spark, we have to leave the glittering ballrooms and go to the countryside. We need to go to Penwood Park and talk about Sophie Beckett. And I really want to spend some time here because her origin story is, well, it's complicated.
Complicated is putting it mildly. To understand Sophie, you really have to understand the legal concept of filius nullius.
Which translates to?
The son or daughter of no one.
That is harsh.
It's the legal reality for illegitimate children in this era. Sophie is the illegitimate daughter of Richard Gunningworth, the Earl of Penwood. In Regency England, illegitimacy wasn't just a social stigma, it was a legal non-existence.
A non-person.
Pretty much. You had no right to your father's name, his property, or even his recognition. You were, in the eyes of the law, a ghost.
But the situation at Penwood Park was so unique, wasn't it? Because usually these children were sent away, paid off, hidden in a village somewhere, maybe sent to a boarding school. Sophie wasn't hidden away. She was in the house.
Yes. And the sources give us this just heartbreaking image of her arrival. She's 3 years old. She's left on the doorstep of this massive estate in a coat that's way too big for her, clutching a letter from her grandmother.
And the Earl. I struggle with the Earl because on one hand, he takes her in. He doesn't send her to an orphanage, which he easily could have done. But on the other hand, the emotional distance he maintains is it's glacial.
It's the letter that gets me, that one detail.
Tell us about the letter.
It's the defining act of their entire relationship. The Earl opens the door, sees this tiny child, takes the letter from her hand. It's from Sophie's grandmother, explaining who she is. And he reads it walks over to the fireplace, throws it in, and just watches it burn.
Wow. That is such a violent act of erasure.
It is. He then orders a room made up for her near the nursery. So he accepts the financial responsibility. He feeds her, he clothes her, he even educates her. But he destroys the emotional connection right from the start. He builds a wall.
And the names.
The names say it all. He calls her Sophia. She has to call him my lord. He never, not once, acknowledges her as his daughter, even though everyone knows.
And that's the thing. Secrets in a great house aren't really secrets, are they? Especially not something like that.
Never. The servants are the eyes and the ears. They see everything. The source material is very, very clear that the staff knew immediately.
Resemblance, right.
He was unmistakable. Sophie had the Gunningworth look. The moss green eyes, the dark blonde hair, the shape of her face. She looked exactly like the Earl's mother, whose portrait was hanging in the gallery.
So you have this little girl running around the house looking exactly like the family portraits, but everyone has to participate in the charade that she's just a charity case? A ward?
It's an open secret, a fiction everyone agrees to uphold. And that works, functionally for a while. The Earl is a bachelor. He does what he wants. He can defy social convention in the privacy of his own home. But the whole dynamic just explodes when he decides to marry.
Enter Araminta.
The stepmother archetype herself. She walks right out of a fairy tale, and not in a good way.
Now, it's so easy to paint Araminta as just a cartoon villain, and she is awful, don't get me wrong.
She's truly awful.
But let's look at this from her perspective for just a second. She marries an earl. She brings her 2 daughters, Rosamond and Posy, expecting to be the mistress of the house. She secured her future, her daughters' futures, and she walks in, and there is this 10-year-old girl who looks exactly like her husband.
It's a profound insult. In her mind, Sophie's very existence is a slap in the face. It's living, breathing evidence of the Earl's past indiscretions walking around her new home.
She sees a threat.
Immediately. When she meets Sophie in the Great Hall, she doesn't see a child. She sees a threat to her own daughter's status. She sees competition for resources, for affection, for everything.
The text says she just narrowed her eyes and said, I see.
Chilling, isn't it? It's immediate recognition and immediate hatred. She demands Sophie be removed, sent away, anywhere.
And this is the one time the Earl actually shows something of a backbone. He refuses.
He does, but it's not out of love, is it? He doesn't say, she stays because I love her. She's my daughter. No. He cites responsibility. He basically tells Araminta, you don't have to love her, you don't even have to like her, but she stays. This is my house, these are my rules. It's a power play, not an act of fatherly affection.
So Sophie stays, but her life shrinks. It's like a slow suffocation. She goes from being a sort of unofficial daughter to a complete pariah in her own home.
Totally isolated. She's not allowed to eat with them anymore. She's confined to her rooms. She's essentially under house arrest.
And this goes on for 4 years. Sophie is now 14. She's just surviving, keeping her head down. And then, the event that changes everything. The Earl dies.
Heart failure at the tea table.
Just like that.
Sudden. Unexpected. He didn't have time to make any new arrangements for her. And this leaves Sophie completely, utterly vulnerable. Because without the Earl's physical presence and protection, she has no legal standing whatsoever.
This brings us to the will. And honestly, this legal document is a masterclass in how to control people from beyond the grave, but also a masterclass in unintended consequences.
It really is. The Earl, for all his faults, he knew Araminta hated Sophie. He wasn't blind. He knew that the second he was in the ground, Araminta would toss Sophie out into the snow.
Without a second thought.
So he tried to use the only thing Araminta cared about. Money.
Let's break down the numbers here, because in 1815, this is not small change. We really need to understand the stakes.
Okay, so the Earl left a stipend for Araminta, £2,000 a year. Now, that's a very comfortable income for a widow. It keeps the carriage running, keeps the lights on, you can maintain your station. But there was a clause, a very specific clause. If she agreed to shelter and care for Sophie until Sophie turned 20, that income would triple to £6,000 a year.
£6,000. That is a massive amount of money for the time.
It's life-changing money. In today's purchasing power, we're talking about the difference between being well off and being truly wealthy. Hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. It's enough to buy a new wardrobe every season, travel, and throw lavish parties.
So he traps them together. He bribes his wife to keep his daughter. He thinks he's being clever, protecting her.
But he completely underestimated Araminta's cruelty. or perhaps her talent for finding loopholes.
Right.
Araminta wants the money. Of course she does. She's not going to give up 4,000 extra pounds a year. That's pure profit. But she loathes Sophie, so she keeps her physically. She adheres to the absolute letter of the will.
But not the spirit.
Not even close. She stops treating her as a ward.
And this is the descent into servitude. It doesn't happen overnight, does it? It's not like the day after the funeral she's suddenly scrubbing floors.
No, it's much more insidious than that. It starts with small things. Sophie, fetch my shawl. Then, Sophie, mend this hem. The maid is busy. Then, Sophie, do Rosamond's hair. You're so good at it.
The lines just blur.
They blur until they disappear. Slowly, Sophie stops being a member of the family and starts being unpaid labor.
And the key there is unpaid, because if she were a proper servant, she could quit. She could take her wages and go somewhere else. But she has no money.
Exactly. She is economically completely dependent on the woman who abuses her. She can't save up to leave. She is trapped in this gilded cage that is slowly, day by day, turning into a prison cell.
So by the time we get to 1815, Sophie is 20 years old. She is essentially a lady's maid, a housekeeper, and a seamstress all rolled into one with zero agency. She has just accepted this as her lot in life.
Which sets the stage perfectly for the night in question. The catalyst. The Bridgerton Masquerade Ball.
The golden ticket, Whistledown calls it the event of the season. Everyone who is anyone is going to be there. And at Penwood House, the preparations are, manic.
You can just imagine the scene. It's high stress. Araminta is going as Queen Elizabeth, which is just too perfect, isn't it?
Oh, it's perfect. Imperious, demanding, red wig and all.
And Rosamond is Marie Antoinette.
Which feels a little ominous.
A little bit. And poor Posy.
Oh, Posy is the tragedy-comedy element here. We have to love Posy.
She's dressed as a mermaid, but not a Disney mermaid. We're talking 1815 costume design. The costume doesn't fit. She can barely move. She's constantly tripping over her own tail. It's just humiliation.
And Sophie is running the entire show from behind the scenes. She's stitching, she's ironing, she's soothing tempers. She is the engine keeping the Penwood women running.
And then they leave. The carriage rolls away. Sophie is left in the silence of the house. The adrenaline just crashes. And she thinks, that's it. That's my life, watching other people go to the ball.
But the staff has other ideas. And I love this part because it shows who Sophie really is. You can judge a person by how they treat those who can do nothing for them.
And the servants adore her.
Yeah.
They basically raised her. Mrs. Gibbons, the housekeeper, she stages an intervention.
It's the fairy godmother moment, but it's grounded in reality. There's no magic wand. There's just a trunk of old clothes in the attic.
Mrs. Gibbons brings out this trunk that belonged to the late Earl's mother, and they pull out the dress.
Describe it for us, because this isn't a modern fashion moment. Why does this particular dress matter so much?
Well, it's silver, but it's 18th century silver. It's a gown from the 1700s. It has the wide skirts, the intricate embroidery, the heavy silk. Now, by 1815 standards, where the fashion was that slim, high-waisted empire silhouette, think Jane Austen movies, this dress is a total antique.
It's 50 years out of date.
Right. So normally, she would look completely ridiculous.
But it's a masquerade.
Exactly. Because it's a masquerade, it works. It looks like a deliberate costume. It looks like she's dressing up as an 18th century princess. It sets her apart immediately from every other girl in a simple muslin empire waist dress. She takes up space.
So she has the dress, she has the gloves monogrammed with SLG for Sarah Louisa Gunningworth, her grandmother. But the shoes, we have to talk about the shoes. This is such a critical plot point.
Oh, the shoes are everything. Sophie doesn't have formal shoes. She has work boots. So they try Rosamond's. They're like boats on her. She tries Posy's, even bigger. Sophie has these tiny, delicate feet.
So they do the unthinkable.
They raid Araminta's closet. They steal a pair of brand new white satin slippers with silver stitching.
That is a high-risk maneuver. I mean, if Araminta caught her...
The consequences would be severe. Araminta is incredibly possessive of her things, but the shoes fit. It's the only option they have.
So she's dressed, she's transformed, and Mrs. Gibbons gives her the one rule. It's not the magic fades at midnight, it's
practical magic. The coachman has to be back here to check up the family at midnight. The logistics of the shared carriage.
I love that. So
Right.
Sophie arrives at Bridgerton House, and she walks in. Now, put us in Benedict's shoes for a moment. He's standing there, bored out of his mind, actively dodging his mother, who is trying to set him up with Prudence Featherington.
Which, according to the society papers, is a fate worse than death.
And then he looks up.
And he sees her, the lady in silver. And what's fascinating in the text is what he notices first. It's not just that she's beautiful, though she clearly is. He can't even see half her face because of the mask.
It's her energy.
It is. Whistledown describes her as radiant. And you have to remember, Sophie has been locked up for years. This is her first real taste of freedom. She is practically vibrating with joy. She's looking at the chandeliers, the people, the colors with this incredible sense of wonder.
She's not looking around the room calculating who has the biggest title or the biggest fortune. She's happy to be there.
And that draws Benedict like a moth to a flame. He's so tired of the calculation of the marriage mart. And he sees someone who is just purely alive.
He approaches her. He asks for a dance. And Sophie, who has never been to a ball, never had a season, never been presented at court, admits something no debutante would ever admit.
She says, I don't know how.
That vulnerability is so disarming for him, isn't it?
It is, because it's real. He realizes immediately she's not playing a game. A debutante would fake it or make a coy excuse. Sophie just tells the truth.
So he takes her to the terrace.
Away from the prying eyes, away from the judgment. And he teaches her to waltz right there under the stars.
This scene on the terrace, it really is the anchor of the whole story. It's where the connection moves from just physical attraction to something much, much deeper. They start talking, and they just skip the small talk entirely.
They do. They talk about what actually matters to them. Sophie talks about the color green.
Which seems simple, but for her, it's profound.
It's the grass. It's the country. It's the smell of summer at Penwood Park before everything went wrong. It represents peace for her. It represents a time before she was a servant.
And Benedict chooses blue.
The sky. But specifically the sky he feels he's missing because he's stuck in London. It's a conversation about longing. They are two very lonely people who have suddenly found someone who speaks their language. They're connecting on a soul level.
And then there's the sensory detail that everyone remembers. He takes off her glove.
It's incredibly intimate for 1815. I mean, skin-to-skin contact was a very big deal. He removes the glove to kiss her wrist. He touches her arm. He remarks that her hair is softer than silk.
He's memorizing her.
He is. He isn't just looking at her. He is experiencing her with all his senses.
But there's a massive imbalance of information here, isn't there? Sophie knows exactly who he is. She reads Whistledown. She knows this is Benedict Bridgerton. But he has no idea who she is. And she lies to him.
She has to. What choice does she have? He asks about her family. She says she's an only child, which in a way is the emotional truth.
Yeah.
She has felt like an only child, an orphan her whole life. But she can't tell him, oh, I'm the bastard maid of the woman dressed as Queen Elizabeth inside.
Because that breaks the spell.
Exactly. The second he knows she's a servant, the romance ends. The class barriers in 1815 were rigid. He might desire her, he might even take her as a mistress, but he could never court her. He could never marry her.
So she protects the moment.
She protects the moment by hiding the truth. She just wants one perfect night where she is just a woman, not a problem.
Benedict, though, he's ready to go all in. He's telling her he wants to meet her parents. He wants to pet her dog. He is planning a wedding in his head right there on the terrace. He is convinced he's found the one.
Which absolutely terrifies her because she knows it's impossible. She knows that the moment the mask comes off, the fantasy dies.
Yeah.
And then the gong, the reality check. She panics. It's not a graceful exit. It's a full-on flight. She tears herself away from him. She just runs through the crowd.
And she actually runs right past Araminta.
Yep. Who looks right at her and sees nothing. Just a stranger in a silver dress. It's a perfect testament to how invisible Sophie is to her stepmother. Araminta doesn't recognize her own maid because she never ever really looks at her.
Sophie makes it to the carriage. She escapes. But she leaves one thing behind, not a glass slipper.
A glove. The glove with the SLG crest.
So the night ends. Sophie goes back to being a maid. She puts the dress away. But Benedict is a man possessed.
He is haunted. Completely. He takes that glove and starts a full-scale investigation. He identifies the crest as the Penwood crest. He sees the SLG monogram and figures out it belonged to the Dowager Countess. So he thinks, logical deduction. The woman I met must be a relation of the Penwoods.
So the very next day, he marches over to Penwood House. Can you just imagine the scene? Benedict Bridgerton, the catch of the season, sitting in Araminta's drawing room.
It's dramatic irony at its absolute finest. He's there, hoping to find his lady in silver. And Araminta parades out Rosamund and Posey, and Benedict takes one look at them and just knows.
Nope, not them.
He's barely polite about it. He asks if there are any other cousins, any distant relatives staying with them. Araminta says no. And she is confused at first, and then she gets suspicious.
Araminta is sharp. We have to give her that. She's watching him, and she sees what he's holding.
She sees the glove, And the gears just start turning in her head. She remembers the missing shoes. She remembers the scuff marks she found on them earlier that morning.
Oh, the scuff marks. That's the forensic evidence.
Sophie danced in delicate satin shoes on a stone terrace. Satin is fragile. Of course they got ruined. Araminta puts two and two together. She realizes Sophie stole her shoes and went to the ball.
So when Benedict leaves, disappointed and completely confused, Araminta goes on the warpath. This confrontation is just brutal.
It's the end of Sophie's life as she knows it. Araminta confronts her. She accuses her of theft, which, technically is true regarding the shoes. But the rage isn't about the shoes, it's about the audacity. Sophie dared to be her equal for a single night.
And the reaction is so disproportionate, she kicks her out.
And remember the timeline. This is so crucial. Sophie is 20. The will stated Araminta gets the extra money until Sophie is 20. The stipend has just expired.
So Araminta doesn't need to keep her anymore to get the cash.
Nope. The shoe incident is just the convenient excuse she needed to finally dump her.
That is so cold. It was always a transaction.
Always.
So Sophie is thrown out onto the streets of London. No references, no money, no friends, nothing.
She grabs a few meager possessions, and she makes one last mistake. She takes the shoe clips off the ruined shoes.
Thinking they're diamond.
She thinks, this can feed me for a year. But they're paste. Worthless. It's such a tragic little detail. She risks imprisonment for theft, and theft by a servant was a hanging offense or a transportation offense, and she stole costume jewelry. She just disappears into the fog.
Meanwhile, Benedict is sliding into this deep, prolonged depression. Whistledown reports that he's still unmarried years later. He spends the next 2 years looking at every woman's face at every ball, comparing them to the lady in silver, and finding them all lacking.
He's stuck. He can't move forward because he's so idealized this memory. He's in love with a ghost. He's painting her, dreaming of her. He's frozen in time on that terrace.
So we fast forward 2 years, it's 1817, and the scene shifts completely. We're not in London anymore, we're in Wiltshire. And Sophie has survived.
Barely. She's working as an upstairs maid for the Cavender family. And it's a definite step down from Penwood Park. It's hard labor. She's not the pampered ward anymore. She is a drudge.
And it's dangerous. Let's talk about the Cavenders, specifically the son, Philip.
He's a predator. The sources are explicit about this. He's the kind of man who thinks the female staff are part of the property, available for his amusement.
There's a party at the Cavender house. Philip and his drunk friends corner Sophie outside. She's trying to leave, trying to quit her job because she feels so unsafe, and they surround her. It's a terrifying situation.
It's assault waiting to happen. It's the grim reality of what women in service faced. They had absolutely no protection. And then cue the hero music. Who should step out of the shadows?
Benedict Bridgerton.
He's a guest at the party. He was bored again, disgusted by the drunken behavior of his hosts, and was just heading to his carriage to leave. And he stumbles right into this.
And I love this moment for him. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't ask questions. He sees a woman being threatened by 3 men, and he intervenes.
He uses his privilege as a weapon. He threatens to shoot Philip's hand off. He pulls rank. He basically says, I am a Bridgerton and you are nothing. And then he claims her. He says, I am taking this woman to my mother. She needs a maid.
He rescues her. He puts her in his phaeton and drives away. No, stop the tape. Because this is the moment where everyone listening screams at their device.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
He is sitting right next to her. He is looking at her, and he does not know who she is.
He sees a maid.
How? They danced. He kissed her arm. He stared into her eyes. How does he not see her? Is he just blind?
This is the core of our deep dive. We have to unpack the psychology here because it's not just a plot device. It's a really powerful statement on class.
Okay, break it down for us.
First, the physical changes. It's been 2 years. Sophie has lost a lot of weight. She's been starving, essentially. Her hands are rough and red from scrubbing floors. And her hair.
She cut it.
She sold it to eat. So she has short, choppy hair. She looks different, no question. But it's so much more than just the physical. It's the context.
Context blindness.
Exactly. Benedict has enshrined the lady in silver in his mind as a goddess, a princess, a mystical figure. His brain literally cannot map that image onto the shivering, terrified servant in a rough wool coat sitting next to him.
The social class acts as a mask.
A powerful one. He doesn't see Sophie. He sees a maid. And in his world, those are two different species. He doesn't really look at servants. He looks past them.
That is, it's depressing. But also probably very realistic for the time. He sees the uniform, not the person inside it.
Very. It's a cognitive dissonance he just can't bridge yet.
Now, Sophie recognizes him instantly, of course.
Of course. He's exactly the same. He hasn't starved. He hasn't worked a day of manual labor in his life.
But she doesn't say, hey, it's me, the girl from the ball. Why? Why does she stay quiet?
Shame. Pure and simple. Just think about it. She was a lady when he met her. She was magical. Now she's a bastard servant who was just almost assaulted by her employer's son. She feels dirty. She feels unworthy.
She thinks he'll be disappointed.
Worse. She thinks she'll see pity in his eyes, and she would rather be a stranger to him forever than have him look at her with pity. She wants to preserve the memory of that perfect night as much as he does.
So she stays silent. She plays the role of the grateful maid.
They drive off into the night. And then nature decides to complicate things even further. A storm hits.
A massive downpour. And Benedict, who was already fighting off a cold, starts to fade fast.
He gets sick. Really sick. High fever, chills, the adrenaline from the rescue wears off, and his body just crashes. He can't hold the reins anymore.
So Sophie has to take over, and this is a slip-up, right? This is a clue.
A huge slip-up. Maids do not know how to drive a team of high-spirited horses. It's a very skilled job. It's like a barista suddenly knowing how to fly a helicopter.
Right.
Benedict, even in his feverish state, notices. He mumbles, "Where did you learn to drive?"
She lies again. Says she learned with the daughters of her previous house.
She's constantly improvising, just trying to keep her story straight while also literally saving his life.
They finally arrive at his bachelor pad, my cottage, which sounds quaint, but I'm assuming it's not a little shack.
No, it's a substantial country house. But it's secluded. It's just them.
And Benedict is down for the count. He is completely delirious. Sophie has to get him inside, get him undressed, get him into bed.
And you have the forced intimacy of the sick room. It breaks down all the social barriers. She's touching him, caring for him. She's seeing him at his most vulnerable. She's seeing the man, not the Bridgerton.
And he starts talking in his sleep.
This part just hurts. He grabs her hand. He pulls her down towards him. He begs her to kiss him. And for a second, Sophie's heart must have just stopped. She thinks, he knows. He finally recognizes me.
But then...
He opens his eyes, looks right at her, and says, "Not you."
Ouch. That is a gut punch.
Yeah, he's hallucinating. He's dreaming of the lady in silver. He wants the fantasy, not the real woman who is currently putting cool cloths on his forehead. He rejects the reality for the dream.
But Sophie, she kisses him anyway.
She does, while he's sleeping. A light, gentle kiss. And she whispers that she loves him. It's this moment of pure, tragic, unrequited love, or so she thinks. She accepts in that moment that she will never be the lady in silver again.
And then while he's passed out, she does a little snooping.
As one does in these situations. She finds his sketchbook on the desk. She flips through it. And she realizes two things. One, he is an absolutely incredible artist. And two, he hasn't forgotten her. Not for a second.
The sketch at the back of the book.
A perfect rendering of the lady in silver running away at midnight. He's captured the dress, the gloves, the movement, every single detail.
So she's holding a picture of herself, drawn by the man she loves who doesn't know she's sitting right there. The tension is just unbelievable.
It's a ticking time bomb. Because now she knows just how deep his obsession goes.
Morning comes, and the cavalry arrives in the form of Mr. and Mrs. Crabtree.
The caretakers. And thank goodness for them, because we really need a little levity at this point.
We do.
Mrs. Crabtree walks in, finds a strange woman wearing Benedict's clothes, because Sophie's were all wet, and Benedict passed out in bed.
And she doesn't even bat an eye, does she?
She's a complete pragmatist. She just sees that Sophie is starving and immediately starts force-feeding her porridge. The Crabtrees are fiercely protective of Benedict, but because Benedict vouches for Sophie, they accept her. They become her allies.
Benedict finally wakes up, the fever breaks, and this is where the dynamic really, really shifts. The lady and the prince dynamic from the ball is gone. Now it's just two people in a cottage.
It's Benedict and Sophie the maid. And paradoxically, this allows them to be more real with each other than they ever were at the ball. Because the pressure is off. He's not trying to court her. She's not trying to be a princess.
He teases her.
He does. Sophie is wearing a dress she borrowed from Mrs. Crabtree, which is way too short for her. She shows her ankles, she looks ridiculous, and Benedict just laughs at her. And she snaps right back.
She doesn't act like a servant should. She's sassy.
She's surprisingly feisty. She challenges him. And he loves it. He calls her refreshing. He's so used to women who just agree with everything he says. Sophie has no problem telling him when he's being an idiot.
There's the famous spoon incident.
Oh, yes. They're arguing, flirting, really about something completely trivial. And she's gripping her spoon so hard her knuckles are white. And Benedict gets this smirk on his face and says, "Go ahead, throw it."
She doesn't throw the spoon.
No, she has some restraint.
Mm-hmm.
But as she storms out of the room, she grabs a candle stump from the mantelpiece and hurls it at his head.
And he doesn't fire her. He doesn't get angry. He laughs.
He yells, "Well done, Miss Beckett."
Yeah.
He is completely and utterly charmed. He's falling in love with her personality, her spirit, the exact same spark he saw at the ball, but he's still compartmentalizing it. He thinks, this maid is amazing, not, this is my soulmate.
So here is where we find ourselves. Sophie is safe for now, living at the cottage under the watchful chaperonage of the Crabtrees. Benedict is visiting constantly, clearly infatuated with his new houseguest.
But the secret is still there, looming over everything.
She is leaving with the man who is hunting for her, and she refuses to tell him she's the prey.
And every day, the mask slips a little more. The chemistry between them is just undeniable. The shared history is radiating off them. He's asking her questions, and her answers feel strangely, eerily familiar to him.
It brings us right back to that central theme you mentioned at the beginning, class as a mask. Benedict prides himself on being an artist, a seer of truth, but he is completely blinded by the label maid.
He cannot imagine that a woman of quality could fall so far. And he cannot imagine that a common servant could have the soul of his lady in silver. He is fighting his own worldview. He's fighting the neat little box he's put women into.
And that leads to our final question. The question is, what happens when that worldview finally cracks? What happens when he realizes the woman he's been searching the ballrooms of London for has been right in front of him all along, scrubbing his floors and throwing candles at his head?
That is the explosion waiting to happen. And when it does, it's going to force him to choose between his society and his heart. He's going to have to decide if the label matters more than the person.
It's a fascinating setup. We're going to have to pause our deep dive there, right on the precipice of that reveal.
A calm before the inevitable storm.
Exactly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the complicated, class-conscious world of Sophie Beckett and Benedict Bridgerton. It's a reminder that sometimes the things we are looking for are right in front of us if we only bother to really look.
Indeed.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.